Well, today's topic is an easy one. Is God a space alien? Of course he is. Why wouldn't he be? I've watched zillions of documentaries my whole life. Most of them are, of course, just trying to take technological advances from ancient black and brown cultures like Egypt and Aztecs and stuff like that. But the biggest ones, of course, are to dispel God in general. For some reason, I've been given this false choice my whole life between God and science. Even though many scientists are religious, it seems to be, do you want to believe facts or do you want to follow faith? And these people can't seem to realize that they corroborate one another. I don't see the conflict. I watched a recent one that a lot of the references, looking to heaven is like looking to space, and that there's beings coming down, and it's like, are those stories, one, any more true or legitimate than what you consider the allegories from the Bible? Or you're saying what they called angels were actually aliens? Or is it what you call aliens actually angels? Did you just find proof of angels? Because for it to be alien only means for it to be foreign, maybe inexplicable, not common to your area or your understanding. That's what alien means. It doesn't just mean the little creature popping out of the belly in the movie. It means other. That's basically the extent of it. Are angels other? Yeah. Is God other? Yes. Is God an alien that seeded this planet? That's what the Bible says, probably early on in the first couple of pages. Let there be light. He said, let me hit this big bang. I don't see why so much energy is spent finding out things from science and then considering them to be in immediate conflict with faith. We've proven there's no God because there's a universe. You didn't put the universe there. A greater intelligence and whatever brought us forward is what people of faith are paying homage to. Now, whether it's a old British guy's voice behind the clouds, or whether it's green with tentacles pointing at the top of its head, that's going to be the reference to the intelligence that brought us forth. Now, you might find some of the literal fundamentalists who are like word for word, page for page, the world's 6,000 years old, and just fine. But for the most of us, we have no problem being at church all day Sunday and going home and watching science documentaries that evening and find no conflict between the two. But there seems to be an earnest and definite, deliberate effort to say whatever you find out in science completely refutes faith. And time again, all that generally happens is we found out, there was this flood or this event that happened that's referred to in Holy Scriptures, but it happened around this time. And this event must have informed this story. Okay. What about it? Even if a alien slash God, a God slash alien, triggered the Great Flood, there's a flood. And there's greater beings or aliens or gods or angels or whatever you want to call them taking part in that. So if they've triggered something, because now we know it's not impossible. We now know we can flood entire valleys. We can flood and wash away entire cities. We have the technology now. We have dams. We have the Suez and Panama Canal. We have the ability and the technology ourselves. And we're wildly primitive to anything that would have had the technology tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years ago. So I don't understand how you're anything but humbled and in awe of the artistry of what must have brought everything that you can see forth. How it's not a religious experience for you. You're not doing anything. You're not going like, we've calculated this and we can. You're basing all of your abilities on variables that were put in place. Just because you're explaining how it works doesn't mean anything. I can explain computers to my kids. I did not come up with the computer. Just because you're figuring out the mysteries of the universe doesn't mean there's not a greater intelligence who didn't put the whole thing in place. Who's to say that the universe isn't in some large petri dish somewhere? We create environments for ants, for rats, for whatever else. They could live their entire life. They could live entire generations in a box, in a kennel, on a farm. And as far as they know, that is the totality of reality. We've been trapped in particular environments, on particular continents, and said, this is it. This is the known world. And simultaneously, there are civilizations rising up separately in other places. Something placed us here. Something placed all of these things in motion. Whatever that is not proof that there's no God. It's proof that there is. Whatever brought it forth. Whatever caused the Big Bang, whatever made stars, whatever decided that this is how matter would act, or gravity would be, or that we'd be carbon-based, or how far our intelligence would go, whatever it is, whatever that grand architect is, series, committee, foreign, alien, superior being to us, is the one faith is paying homage to say, why are we here? What purpose did you put us here for? Oh, it's all just random and we're just here and we're just going to... That's stupid. That's stupid. That's lazy. Because you're looking at all of these things that are almost like gears working together. All of them have purpose. All of them interact and work one another. That we have solar systems and they repeat and they create galaxies and galaxies create. And you see all of these things repeat one after the other and then come together and conglomerate and make larger entities and bodies and interact with one another. And you're still going, there's no design to that. There's no design that you can discern. But the lesson of history and science is we haven't been able to discern a lot of things until we could. Couldn't figure out how to get across the water or the oceans or whatever else until we could. Or how to fly from one place to the other until we could. Or how to keep grain and food through the winter until we could. So just because you're just starting to understand the mysteries of the universe has no impact on why people should be losing their faith. You should be just like, it turned out it's not just the Milky Way, there's multiple galaxies. There's a whole omniverse out there. And they go, my God is great. You know, what are you talking about? I'm talking about something scientific. You didn't do shit. You're a speck on that pale blue dot. You're just looking up, trying to make sense of it. You're just an ant in the bottom of an ant farm trying to make sense of it. You don't own the ant farm. You didn't buy the ant farm. You didn't build the ant farm. If that ant looks up and says, somebody greater than me has arranged this, they're right. If a rat in a maze says, somebody smarter than me prearranged this, they're right. And if us in our little maze here, in our little section here, say something bigger than me put this here, we're right. Something more intelligent, something more deliberate decided these will be the rules. These are how animals will be built and developed. This is how gravity would interact. This is how the cycle, the more things you see, the more symmetry and interaction and balance that it takes to maintain that every planet isn't smashed to bits every day. That this planet isn't destroyed in a day. Tells you there's a reason, a deliberate reason. It's not happenstance. It seems to be happenstance to you. Just the way a stray cat coming to your door could find that it's happenstance that every time they come by there in the evening, there's food out there waiting. But it's no accident. You putting it out there. You're leaving it out there. Even though they can't discern time or watch the clock or whatever else. They can discern a cycle. It starts to get dark. Time to go look by your back door and there's food back there. So please stop with the science versus faith. You're clowning yourself, because especially since science tends to get it wrong all the time, especially when it comes to second guessing faith. When you had the world is flat and faith said he's put it all out here, giving us dominion over the whole earth, you're missing it. You're missing it. That's a time you could have saved us 700 years. But you replaced faith with dragons or mathematical impossibilities to get across the water. When all you had to do is learn the predetermined rules, the constellations, the winds, the tides, things like that. And once you understood the predetermined rules and stop going against the flow and pretending your intelligence is greater than that intelligence that designed it, you were able to harness it. And just because you were able to harness it and understand, you still had to humble yourself and abide by those predetermined rules. Following the stars, setting sails, adjusting to the wind, they are already there. They're already the variables that you have no control over. And adjusting yourself to that intelligence that put those variables in place is the only thing science and technology has ever done. Use the tools and the molecules and the structures and the patterns that have been used to create animals and life and other forms of structures in the natural world have been mimicked poorly and pawned off as scientific technology. There's a reason cars and robots take the blueprint you use for normal life. It's basically blood and limbs and mechanisms, because that's the way you were taught by the superior power that things have to work. So stop patting yourself on the back for reverse engineering the greatest engineers or the greatest engineer, however you want to see it. It's no skin off my back. I'm not going to be broken down. You can't break me with that. God showed up tomorrow and said, it's actually being me and these three fools. Like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? Shows up as a female. Shows up, it's got 4 arms and 3 backs. What am I going to do about it? Whatever set this in motion, whatever intelligent designer, engineer put all of this together is God. And trying to figure out, as we do, because there's no reason we have to figure it out. There aren't poems written by roaches. There's a reason us in particular are working on, what'd you put us here for? Why are we here? Something allowed and gave us that curiosity. Or else it'd just be biologically impossible to have the curiosity. We're not necessary. As we look at the rest of the natural kingdom, we know that it's pretty much unique. No one else is worried about it. No one else is concerned about it. We're the ones sitting around going, is there something else we should be doing? Or is there some reason we're here? Or that ability to question God has been granted by God. So there's no reason for atheism. Seriously. I mean, I can entertain it because you can do what you want with your own mind. But the arrogance, the insanity, the lunacy of being able to look at all these grand designs, the more biology we do on all the animals, the more patterns we see in structures under the sea, outer space, on the land, and you can't pick up, damn, something greater than I has been hard at work. You can't get that. Look how smart I am. I just proved there's no God because I can tell you what makes up these rocks. There's no mystery here. It is a mystery here. Why are those the molecules? What determined those? Why are they put here? You just telling me what it is. That has nothing to do with anything. That's like me going, that's a TV. That doesn't make me an engineer or anything. I can just say that's a TV. What's in a TV? Well, there's chips and bulbs, and that doesn't mean I made it or invented or even really know what the hell I'm talking about. So be very careful watching these things that want you to question your faith. That if you're up to date and you're with the times, you're not stuck back in those old silly superstitions, believing in God and all that nonsense. Because we have technology now. We have God-given technology. Because all we can do is mimic the technology that was already here poorly.